Hello, this is Austin Castleberry with Golden West Leather Co. And today I'm going to show you how to make this belt using my kit. And so if you would like to make one and follow along and you don't have the kit, then click the link in the bio and I will be happy to send you one. It includes everything that you need to make a belt with the exception of a few things that you'll be able to find around your home. I hope you enjoy this video and I hope your belt looks great at the end. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to this video. This is my very first tutorial video, and I hope to make many more to help beginner crafters and advanced crafters as well in the leatherwork world. This is a great trade to get into, a great craft to get into, and so I hope you love it, and I hope you enjoy this video. Thank you. So let's open up this kit together. It comes in a relatively small box. We tried to be really conscientious of how large of a box that we're shipping in. But believe it or not, everything that you'll need, other than a few things that you can find around your home, is included right here in this kit. So let's take a look inside. Inside of your kit, the first thing that you'll probably notice is there are a couple of sheets of paper. And these will be really helpful for us as we're making this belt. There is a list of instructions. Included are a list of all the materials that are included in this kit, as well as a list of the items that you will need from your home. But I'll be going over those here in this video. And there are some detailed instructions right here. But I think this video is probably most helpful because a visual demonstration I think is going to be really beneficial to you. But I also have the written instructions here as well. But don't worry, we'll be going through these together. And the other thing that I include is a template for where to punch your holes for the buckle side as well as the belt tip. And I'll be showing those here in a moment. And then also included in your kit, of course, are the buckle hardware, which includes a nice solid brass loop in your choice of color between this natural brass color here or black, nickel plated, nickel matte, or PVD black, or antique brass. And so lots of options to choose from. These are very high quality buckles made out of solid brass. All of the colors are. They're just plated with different things. And you'll also receive matching Chicago screws. And that's what these are here. And I'll show those a little closer when we are ready to use those. But this is what will hold your buckle in place. And also included is a little bit of beeswax. Actually, I got this beeswax from a local bee person. I forget what a bee person is called. I'm gonna have to look that up. But yeah, actually about just 30 minutes away from where I'm recording this video is where I got this beeswax from. And then of course, your leather. And this leather is really special. This leather is some of the finest leather from a world famous tannery called Wickett and Craig. And Wickett and Craig is a small tannery out in Curwensville, Pennsylvania. And the leather that you have to choose from are English bridle in chestnut, black, or medium brown. If you'd like some other color options, feel free to send me a message and I'd be happy to accommodate for you. And I also have a natural vachetta as an option too, if you want more of a natural colored leather, or if you'd like to maybe do some carving or tooling on a belt, that would be a great leather for you. But I'm going to be using this chestnut. I think it looks really clean, and these are 1.5 inches wide. And the reason why I go with this width is for most of your jeans, it's going to fill the belt loop, so it's going to be maximum comfort and look really, really nice and be suitable for a work belt or a church belt, whichever you fancy. And these are plenty long for most waist sizes. I think these go up to about 60 inches, and so yeah, it should fit just about every person making their belt. And then the specialty tool that I include, this is something that you might not be able to find at home. This here is a hole punch, and I'll be demonstrating how we use this a little bit later. But this is the one specialty tool that I include in the kit that you'll need to make a belt and to make the job a whole lot easier. And finally, the last two items are I give you a piece of canvas and a piece of sandpaper for finishing the edges and burnishing the edges to give it a nice clean and professional look when we're all done. That's everything included in the kit. If you have some of those things or you'd like to order some of those things on your own, if you did not purchase the kit, you'll know what you need. And otherwise, if you'd like the convenience and you need to order one of these kits, again, I got a link in the bio. Let's take a look at the items that you'll need to provide yourself. Okay, now that we've seen the items that are in the kit, let's take a look at what you'll need to supply on your own. You should be able to find most of these items just around your home. You'll need a flathead screwdriver. You'll also need a mallet or a hammer. Either one is totally fine. You'll be hammering on a metal tool, so ideally not a metal hammer, but if that's all you have, then that is going to work just fine. You'll need something to cut with, such as a carpentry blade, just a really sharp blade, but I recommend a carpenter knife or a utility knife, however you want to call it. But make sure it's really, really sharp. That's going to make your job a lot easier. So maybe have a fresh blade ready to go. You'll need something to measure with, and preferably if you have some measuring tape like this. Otherwise a tape measure will work. You can also, when you measure your waist, you could also find a rope or even an extension cord or something that you can wrap around your waist to get a measurement that is accurate, and then use a tape measure to measure that distance. But of course, the best thing, if you have it, would be a piece of measuring tape. But if you don't do a lot of sewing, or nobody in your home does a lot of sewing, you might not have this tailor tape or measuring tape handy. So, and then optional, I don't actually have it sitting out, would be some super glue. And I'll explain where you might want to use this for your belt making process. And so I think that's everything. Let me double check my list that you'll need to provide. Oh, of course, you'll need a cutting surface and a work surface. So something that you're comfortable cutting on. So it could be a cutting board that you have maybe in the cabinet. Maybe not your favorite cutting board, because I don't want you to damage something you really love. So find a surface that you are comfortable cutting on. And I believe that's everything that you need. I'm going to double check my list. We have a flathead screwdriver, measuring tape, a sharp knife, mallet or hammer, cutting surface, and optional super glue. Alrighty, let's take a look at our first step. Alright, step one is to cut out the template, and you could use a ruler to get this edge nice and straight, but it's really not necessary because the leather strip has already been cut out for you. This is just more as a guide to get the spacing correct for these holes. And so I'm just going to freehand it, and you're welcome to do the same. Make sure just to be really careful when you're cutting out, and you're just going to follow and trace along the black lines, and you'll see I'm not cutting it perfect. Alright, but cutting out this paper, this is also going to be nice practice for when you cut out the leather, and I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to just skip ahead to me cutting this out. So then for the rounded edge here, this is how you'll also cut it out on the actual piece of leather, but instead of trying to trace it with a single stroke, to cut out a rounded edge, it's actually a lot easier to make several short strokes and do several tiny cuts to have a nice rounded edge. Just like that. So we got a nice rounded edge that we'll trace onto our leather here in a moment, and I will cut out the other piece and then let you know the next step. Alrighty, now that I have the two pieces cut out, I'm also going to punch out these holes, and this will be great practice to using our hole punch. So what you're going to do, starting with the belt tip side, is you're just going to center your hole punch right in the middle of the hole, and then you're going to give it a good whack. This is going to be loud, and you're going to cut out those holes. Perfect. Just like that. And for the buckle side, we're going to do the same thing. Alrighty, and then you'll notice we have one more hole to cut out, and that's this oblong hole here. And a lot of this leather crafters, we use this tool right here, and this is called an oblong punch. That's not included in your kit, but no problem, because I will show you what you can do instead. You can use that same hole punch that I gave you, and you're going to place it on both ends, like so. And then you're just going to connect the lines to your two holes, just like that. And now you have that oblong hole punched out as well. And my holes that I provided on the sheet are a little bigger than the size of the hole punch. So if you see the ring on the outside, that is a-okay. This does not have to be super duper precise, but we do want things as lined up as possible, because if it is a little off, then that's not a big deal. But if it's way off, then that's going to be noticeable, and you won't be happy with your end product. So, but again, don't stress too much about it being uber precise. Just do your best. All right, now that we have our template cut out, let's move on to step 2. Alrighty, step 2 is to get accurate measurement of your waist. And I emphasize accurate because if you just use your pant size, your belt won't fit. Oftentimes, because of vanity sizing, our pant size is actually about 4 inches smaller than our actual waist size. So for example, I wear about a 34-inch waist for my pants, and when I measure my waist, it's about 38 inches actually. And so I would be really short on my belt if I use my pant size. And so I offer 2 ways to measure your waist. One way is to measure a belt that you already have, and I'm just going to use a clip that I recorded for another video on how to do that. So we'll roll that clip. Hey guys, Austin here with Golden West, and I just wanted to make this short video to explain how to get an accurate measurement of your waist for ordering a belt. I would hate for me to ship a belt to you and it not to fit to size. And so I'm going to show you how I measure the belts, so that way we're on the same page and I get you a belt that fits you perfectly. Alrighty, so all you need to get an accurate waist measurement is a belt that you wear all the time. This is my daily wear. This is a belt I wear every single day. And so as you can see on my belt, you can tell which one is my favorite hole, and that's where I wear it the most often. And so find your favorite hole. It's going to be probably the hole that's stretched out a little bit, where there's kind of a little bit of a bump or a little ridge. Alrighty, you can use a measuring tape, or if you have tailor's tape just like this, either is fine. But where you're going to measure from is you're going to measure from the tip of your belt. Okay, so measuring from there all the way over to your favorite hole. And so if I were ordering a belt today, I would order a belt that is 38 inches. And just like that, you got a belt that's fit to size perfectly for you. If you're interested in getting a belt, you can go on my website and search belt in the search bar, or go to made to order, and I'd be happy to make you a belt with your choice of leather, your choice of thread, and your choice of buckle. So get one ordered. It's full grain, it's the real deal, and you're going to be really happy with the results. The other way would be if you had something like the measuring tape, such as this, and you wrap it around your waist. I just want to mention though, make sure when you wrap it around your waist that you're not already wearing a belt when you do so, and that you actually wrap around where you wear your belt. Don't put it up too high on your waist or too low, because those measurements are going to be different. And so make sure that you actually measure where your belt will actually be on your waist. If you don't have measuring tape, but you have a tape measure, that's going to be hard to wrap around your waist. So instead, you can grab a piece of rope. I should have had something pretty. I'm just going to grab this. I don't have any rope, but I got a lot of leather here. So if you grab something like this, I mentioned the extension cord earlier, you could use that too. Just something that you could wrap around your waist, and then just find the intersection point and then hold your finger where it intersects, and then you're going to measure this distance, and that will give you an accurate waist size for you. It's really important that you get an accurate measurement for your waist to have a successful belt. All right, let's take a look at step 3. Okay, step 3 is to cut out and measure our leather to length. And what we're going to do first is we are going to cut our one round end. And so if you hold on the template just like this and kind of center it onto your leather piece, so you have a little bit of extra hanging off the edge, and then you'll use something to score the end of the leather. I didn't mention this before as something that you needed. I apologize for that. So in a leather shop, we might use something like a leather awl, which is just a really pointy piece here. We use this for a lot of different purposes. One is to mark the leather. If you don't have something like this laying around, you could use a pencil or a pen or something along those lines. I would maybe pick a pencil over a pen, because what's nice is with something like an awl is it doesn't actually stain the leather or mark the leather, but you want to have just something that you can see. Okay, so once you've scored the leather with something like a scratch awl or a pencil, then you'll be able to use that little rounded edge that you traced to cut out the rounded end. And you're going to do that just like we did with the paper, with short cuts. And so I'll demonstrate that here, and hopefully I'm in frame here. But I'm just doing short cuts. And this is where a really sharp knife comes in handy. Trying to keep this in frame. Alrighty. So then you get your rounded edge cut out, but you'll notice it's kind of rough. But don't worry, we will get that ironed out here in a moment. I'll show you how we do that. In the leather shop, though, a tool that we oftentimes use to cut out these rounded ends would be a rounded edge punch, kind of like this. But I understand that's not in everybody's shop. If you got it, great, use it. If not, then this is the technique that you'll use. Alrighty, so now we're getting ready to measure our leather to length. And so what you'll want to do is you'll measure from your new rounded end, and you're going to go to your waist length and add 7 inches. So my waist length is 38, and I want to add 7 inches to that. And so 38 plus 7 gets me 45, and I'm going to make a little mark for myself at the 45 mark. I'm using my little scratch awl. Again, you could use a pencil or something else just to leave even your fingernail on your thumb, just something to give yourself a little bit of a mark on the end of your belt. And then you're going to cut off that rounded end. And so I'm going to use one of my templates. What did I do with my templates? I found the template. It was sitting in plain sight right there. Okay, so then I'm just going to put my rounded end right up against that mark that I just made. And just like I did to the other side, I'm going to score that with a pencil or my scratch awl to make that rounded end. So then I have something nice to trace when I go to cut it out. And then I'll grab my sharp knife, which is right here. I normally don't have my table set up like this, so it's kind of throwing me off. Okay, and so I'm going to make my short little cuts. All right. And you'll probably have some leather left over, which is great. You can make things like my bracelet was actually made with a little leftover piece of leather. You can make all sorts of things with this, so don't throw this away. There's all sorts of things that you can make, and if you want some suggestions, or you have some suggestions, leave those in the comments below on what you could use this small piece of leather to make something. Okay, and now step 4 is to sand and burnish. And we're going to start by sanding down. The only part you really need to sand for this project would be our belt ends. And so you might notice, if you cut using the method that I showed you, that our belt end, it's a little bumpy on the end. And so what we're going to do to smooth that out is we're just going to use our sandpaper. This is one method to do it, and that is to just take it, and then you're just going to kind of rotate it like so, and kind of do some longer motions like that, and that'll kind of round out the end. This is 120 grit sandpaper, so it's going to take off quite a bit. Another method, which I really like as well, is I put the sandpaper in my hand and I do kind of the same thing. I rotate it, but maybe that's a little more comfortable because the belt is long and kind of awkward, and so maybe this is another way to do it too. But avoid having too many motions because you want it nice and straight. And so yeah, I'm happy with that, and I'm going to do the same to the other end. All right, take a little more off. All right, and then you'll just go, oh, I was a little out of frame there, and you'll just go until you're happy with how that rounded end looks. And then what you'll do is look at both ends, because I'm sure one end, and then what you'll do is take a look at both ends, because I'm sure if you look super close, you'll see one end that looks better than the other. And so just remember which end looks better, because we're going to hide that end anyway when we bend it down. And so the next step is using our canvas. Is we are going to take our canvas, and it's a waxed canvas that I gave you. But you could use just regular canvas as well. So this kind of does 2 steps in one, but we're still going to use the beeswax, and I'll show you that here in a minute. But yeah, you're just going to kind of hold that in your hand, and then you're using friction to kind of warm up and seal the edges. Because if you look at your leather right now, there's all kinds of loose fibers kind of going along the edges, and so we're going to kind of smooth that out. There we go. In the leather shop, something that I use on my belt is an edge beveler, and what it does is it just takes off the corners a little bit, and so then you have a nice rounded edge. That's not included in your kit. It's something more advanced that if you wanted to do it, this is a tool that you could get. But I'm going to make my belt just like yours, and show you that you'll have a really great result at the end that you'll be very happy with. So I like to kind of start with the edges, and I just kind of take my canvas and rotate it around using friction and kind of pinch it down. And I'll do that on my 2 edges. Great. I'm just kind of knocking those fibers down. All right. And if you feel it, it'll feel kind of smooth on the edge. And then after I'm happy with the ends, and I can come back to those and work on those as long as I want to. The more you work on it, the more smooth it'll be on the end. But then after that, I'll take it and I'll kind of pinch it on the sides here like this, and just put on just enough of a grip that when I pull it, that I can pull the belt through and still have quite a bit of friction. Okay, and I'll pull it through quite a few times, maybe 20 times. And what that does is when you're holding it in that grip, is it's just pinching everything together. It'll kind of round out the edges a little bit just by how your hand is shaped. And then what you're doing is trying to get these little fibers down. If you have any stubborn ones, any stubborn fibers that aren't going down, you could put the belt down and just kind of go like this. And using friction, you can really knock those down. They're not a really big issue, but what this is doing is it's going to allow us to seal up the edge of our belt. And once I do several passes of this, and I'm happy with it. Then what I'll do is I will take the beeswax and I will apply it along the edge of the belt, and you're going to put it on pretty liberally. It's going to be a little tricky at the start, but eventually you'll get a little notch in your beeswax, and then it'll be really easy. It's not a super big deal if you get some on the top, but just wipe any that ends up on the top of your belt off. You still want that extra gunk there. It doesn't harm the belt or anything. But what this beeswax does is it seals the edge, prevents any moisture or water getting in there, and just will ensure that your belt lasts a very, very long time. And this is natural beeswax, as I mentioned earlier. This beeswax comes from a local bee place, which I still cannot recall the name of a bee person. Gosh, it's bugging me. I should have looked it up while I was off the screen and could have sounded a little smarter. But this is also kind of working like a hair gel, because it's going to kind of slick down those fibers that are kind of sticking out. And it's getting really easy now because I have a little bit of a groove. And so, and you'll notice I'm really caking this on. I'm putting it on pretty liberally. You got plenty of beeswax here to make at least 3 or 4 belts out of. So yeah, don't feel like you need to spare it. All right, and then after I have that on, we're gonna heat up that beeswax by using friction. So we're gonna take our canvas again, and we're gonna do just like we did before, and we're just gonna pull it through. And I'm gonna do this multiple times until that beeswax is really melted in there, and do that also at the ends as well. And so yeah, I'll do this a handful more times off camera, and yeah, while you do the same, and then we'll go on to step 5. Alrighty, step 5 is we are going to punch the holes, and it's going to start looking like a belt here really soon. We're going to punch the holes on the buckle side, and the buckle side would be the side that has this oblong punch side on it. And what I like to do is, again, with a scratch awl or a pencil or something I can mark the leather with, is I'm just going to trace these holes like so. Just going to score it enough so that way I can see. It's going to be, maybe, I'm not sure if the camera is going to pick that up or not, but I just made some marks that I can see, and I can punch those holes. And so I'm just going to line up my hole punch. This will be loud, and I'm going to and again, reminder for the oblong hole, we're assuming you don't have all my papers came out. We're assuming that you don't have this tool here, which would make this really easy. We would just punch that out in one hit. We're going to assume that you don't have that and use our same hole punch. And then we're going to trace those lines again. And I guess a little tip and a really important piece of advice here is when you're cutting, you're going to cut about 3/4 of the way on both sides. And if this is not perfect, don't you worry. This is where your bar is going to go through, and so it's not going to be a really noticeable part of the belt. And so then what I did is I flipped it over, and I'm going to cut the remaining little bit of the line here. And the reason I do that is I don't want to cut too far. I just want to cut in between, and that'll come out just like that. And so we've got These holes are set here for our Chicago screws, and this is where the bar is going to go through. The buckle style that we have is a heel bar buckle style, and so our bar is going to go right here. And so the next step is a buckle assembly, and it's really going to start looking like a belt. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, this is exciting stuff. We're ready to put on the buckle. So we are going to need these pieces for our buckle assembly. We're going to need our heel bar buckle, we're going to need our loop, and we're going to need our Chicago screws. And the Chicago screws have a fancy side of the face, and then they also have a side for where you screw in the flathead screwdriver. The fancy side is what we're going to want to be on the outside, okay? And so first step is you're going to take your belt loop and you're going to slip that on to your belt like so, and just kind of move it out of the way down there. You don't want to forget about your loop though later on. And then you're going to take your buckle, and what you're going to do is you're going to take the heel, drop it down, and then slip your belt through. Oh, bring your heel up through that hole here like this, and then it should sit kind of like that. Make sure that the right side of your buckle is facing up. There's nothing worse than having an upside down buckle. It's not the end of the world, but just make sure that your heel is able to strike the top of your buckle, and then we're ready to put it together. And so to do that, we're going to bend this down, and your holes that you punched should line up. You can see mine do here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my fancy part here, and I'm going to put a couple drops of super glue. Now this is optional, and if you do this, you need to work a little quick because you don't want that glue to dry before you start putting it on. And yeah, just want to be really careful, make sure your threads line up, because otherwise it becomes really difficult to take apart. If you think that you might change out your buckle someday, skip this step. Or if you don't have super glue right now, you can skip this step and do it later. But if you put in some Loctite or super glue, these Chicago screws should never come undone. If you don't do this step though, you do run the risk of these screws maybe coming undone over time. I've never had it happen. I don't put super glue in some of my personal ones. I've had a lot of belts I've made out of scrap leather, and I don't always put super glue in there, and I've never had a problem, but it's better to be safe than sorry. So so this is an optional step, and I'm just going to drop it into, really, a drop or two is plenty. All right, and I'm just going to do one at a time because I don't want that to dry too quickly. Oops. And I'm just going to put that in there, press that through kind of like so, and then I am going to kind of get that started. And make sure that your flathead screwdriver is handy. And you'll put some downward pressure and screw it into place. Okay. Once you have the first one in there, this is really important. Don't forget about your belt loop. You're going to slip that in between the two pieces. And just like before, I'm going to take a little bit of super glue. And, oh, I'm kind of getting low. I'm going to put a drop in there, like so. Put the fancy side out. And then it is helpful if you kind of press that bottom piece in, if that makes sense. And then keep the leather pinched nice and tight. And then screw it in. You're basically just going until the whole unit starts to turn, and then that is tight enough. All right. And then look at that. It's really starting to look like a belt on this end. We just have a couple steps left. Okay, and then we are ready to punch our belt tip holes, which is step 7. So what I'm going to do is, the template should be accurate, but just to be sure, I'm going to measure from the tip of this buckle to my waist length, which is 38 inches, and using my little scratch-all or a pencil or something else to make a mark on the leather, I want to make a little bit of a indent there so I can find that place. And then what I'll do is I'll take this little template, and if everything is magical, then it should about line up. See, mine didn't quite line up perfectly, but that is okay. It's actually kind of in between these two, so which is why we double check. So I'm going to put my center hole right over the little mark I made, and it might have scooted on me actually a little bit as I was moving the belt, but it's pretty close. And then what I'll do is I will make a little marks, and these holes are 1 inch apart. Trace those holes. Now I'm going to measure again just to be sure. I do not recommend moving your project while you're measuring. That could be a fatal mistake. Okay, good. We are still in the money. All right. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to punch those holes, just placing my hole punch. Okay, let's see here. If your hole punch, maybe I should have mentioned this earlier, is getting stuck, it's hard to get out, just give it a little wiggle, and maybe even a little twist. There's kind of a little bit of a grip on this tool that I gave you that makes it able to be twisted, and so that will be helpful. But it does get kind of stuck in there from time to time. That is totally normal. All right, and the final hole. Alrighty, exciting stuff, ladies and gentlemen. We have our holes punched. Step 8 is to try this on. I am so excited about how this turned out. We've got ourselves a beautiful work belt. I'm going to go ahead and try it on and see how it fits. I'm sure it's going to fit great, but in the next clip, you'll see me trying on my new handmade fancy belt. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we are ready for my favorite step. This is also the most nerve-wracking step. It's where hopefully all your measurements and everything came together, and all your hard work hopefully pays off, which is where you get to put on your belt, which is step 8. And try it on. If you're getting this as a gift, you'll have to wait until you give it to them. But I think let's just give this one a shot. So putting on the belt, as long as we did everything correctly, the belt should fit comfortably in the center hole. So which will be the 3rd hole in our case. I like to make my belts with 5 holes. Some people do 7. Some people do 4, but I like an odd number, so then there's a middle hole, and look at that. This belt fits perfectly. Oh my gosh, this feels super comfortable. I might have to switch over to a wider belt. I normally wear a dress belt, which is 1.25 inches, which is a little narrower, a little dressier, and which is also really comfortable and really great. But man, it's having that little extra width makes it a little more comfortable too. So I really love it, and I think I look fantastic. What do you guys think? Thank you so much for watching. This is my very first tutorial, and so I'm hoping to make many more. So like all the other YouTubers say, I'll say it too. Please consider subscribing, liking this video, and most importantly, I don't want to forget this. If you got my kit and you made your successful belt, please take a picture and tag me on Facebook or Instagram. I really want to see your work and see how the craft is being shared. And again, yeah, subscribe. This is my first tutorial video. I hope to make many more. I was a beneficiary of great tutorials out there, and I want to contribute to the leathercraft community as well, and especially those who want to just get started. And so thank you so much for watching, and God bless.